some good old sadness to end out this this little mini arc, I guess. Some nice depression, good feelings, but depression. So now we understand a little bit about how Mother is going to be located. And I actually really liked this more than how I saw it beforehand, because I thought there was going to be with these treasures, these relics, that it was going to be like, oh, you gather all of them and it like maybe makes some form of locator in order to like track where Mother is, because Mother isn't like, she's not in one spot. She's a living creature, so she could roam, so that would make sense of why one of the things would be like, oh, no one can ever really find her because she's always traveling around, you know, the universe just by herself. But the way that it's kind of described, and also I figured that we were going to get like a brief conversation between like the remnants of Mother and Shiki, but it was kind of just like more of the presence of her briefly, and then, you know, then she kind of like went into the small piece of lacrima that Shiki had. But essentially, like I said, the lacrima that Shiki had, it absorbed into the and it had ether absorbed into it, rather, sorry, that he was wearing on his neck so they can, you know, breathe underwater and stuff. And now it has a fraction of Mother's ether in it. And the way that it's described is from Nadia is that there's these, I think, what, eight of these relics, I believe. It might be 9. Either way, there's a bunch of these relics. And from each of these, yeah, there's 9, because this candlestick looking guy was the first one of them, or whatever it's supposed to be. Unless there's more, actually, because the ones I'm looking at, there looks like there's a couple more than on one page than the other. But either way, there's a handful of these relics, and instead of it being like, oh, you have to gather all of them and, you know, nobody else gets them, because I figured it'd be like that. It'd be like, oh, you have to gather each of them and only one person will have it. But it seems to be more like whoever has all of them collectively will be the one to do it, because instead of it being like you need the relics themselves, you need the fraction of Mother's ether that like is left behind from them or just radiated from them. So it's means that later on, like, they can run into people that also have fractions of Mother's ether. So you could be like, oh, this group has, you know, three portions of her ether. This one has 5 or something. And so it won't just be Shiki and the crew. Eventually they could start running into people that are also on this journey that have, you know, come on to this into this realization, this whole reveal of how exactly it's all going to work. And I like that more, because it's not confined to one character, and I think that is way cooler than just, oh, well, it's just going to be tied to the one group. Because if it was tied to the one group, then it would completely take away the ability for like any other character to kind of join in without it really kind of overtaking what they were doing, and they would have to kind of like, oh, somebody's gonna have to steal it. They're gonna have to, get all the pieces along with everybody else, and it's down to pretty much last man standing. Instead it seems to be more of who can find them all first, before anything else. It's a race rather to be the first one to get each of these lacrima or ether fractions, which again is really cool. I like that a lot. It just means that eventually, like, they'll probably come to a group and it's like, oh, they have all of them but one in Shiki's crew and Eden Zero, and then they run to another group that also has all of them but one. I like that a lot. I think that holds a lot of potential for just the other groups in general to potentially, join in and have a similar level of engagement in what's going on. And I genuinely think that holds a high level of competition between them, to where, like I said, it's not just going to be one group doing everything. It can easily be multiple. So I wonder when we're going to start seeing rival crews, because like we have Elsie's crew, but we got to have more than them. I would really like to see like another crew that's not as high up as Shiki's, but still is, not as high up as like Elsie's, but is still like a contender for the position, like kind of like a high potential, go-getters, a newer bunch of people, but also have their own broken ether gears and abilities and cool ships and stuff. Just because I think that will hold a level of just kind of like, side by side growth between different groups, and maybe they'll be rivals, or maybe they'll be full enemies. I guess actually a protagonist group would also be really cool. Actually, I think would be badass. You had a rival group and a protagonist group, or sorry, antagonist group. So you had like the guys are like, oh sweet, we're competing against them, and then there's like, we can't let these guys get there before us because these guys are evil or stuff. But we'll see. There's definitely a big journey ahead of us. But that was for the most part the chapter. Like when it came to the lore and kind of like the plot and stuff. The rest of it was sad. The rest of it was actually really sad. Like Nadia, like we already knew the guy in the ship was a skeleton. He was dead. This dude Andrew, and she wasn't aware that he had died. She didn't know that humans wouldn't, live to be 200 years old. But there is like there's like a memory chip that has a video of him of his recording before he ended up pretty much being sent down his pathway to death. And what had happened was, originally the relic was stolen. He went to go retrieve it for them because without the relic that gave off Mother's ether that just kind of powered all of the robots and cyborgs upon their planet, it ended up being taken. They only had small residuals amount of like around where the relic was originally kept, but because of that, the robots kind of they didn't have the ether they needed in order to work. And the only person left is Nadia, because Andrew built that cord that connected her to this pretty much a power unit to keep her going. And he left, went to go look for it, and then like obtained it, and then within the span of a year, did all that and was coming back. But on his journey back, he ended up like getting hit by a meteorite in his ship, and it made like this massive loop all around to where he ended up being off course in like just this massive world, like this massive fucking twist of space travel for 200 years. And because of that, he didn't make it. And it's definitely like a really sad way to kind of like build into this right now. Oh, my cat is being upset. She doesn't like this new cat. She's been grumpy. Hey, quit it. I don't know if you can hear a cat complaining, but yeah, it's such a small character for both Nadia. Like, she's clearly a important role in the fact that she's tied directly into like the journey for Mother, but we only just found out about her, and they're already leaving the planet, because I'm guessing that this relic is kind of like the introduction one. This is the one that's going to be very easy. Like, there wasn't a lot of difficulty in getting to it. Like, all they really had to do was find a way to get past the water, contact Laguna, get him on their side, and to get his help. And then that's all there really was to it. I figure that the rest of them will, still be trials and puzzles, but they'll also be competition. This is from what I would guess the easiest one though to do. So it's more of just like, hey, this is just the beginner one. No big challenge. We just want you to get the information on it and get an understanding of what it is they're going to be doing. So still pretty fair. But then like you have Nadia and Andrew, and again, like, Andrew's a character we were introduced to already dead. Nadia's a character who we're only briefly going to be seeing, and then she's gonna not disappear, but we'll probably won't see her at least for a long time. And then like we get this sad backstory that I think actually hits pretty well. You have this like how it's kind of like built up originally. You have an android and a human, and then they have feelings towards each other, and there's that kind of like, can there be a romance between a human and an android? And I liked the stuff with Witch saying how the fact that she could feel emotions and love for Andrew meant that she had a heart and she had a soul. I thought that was just really nice, because then it just really kind of like puts more of those emotions towards kind of being sentient and kind of having like free will, because they are robots and cyborgs, but they're the only difference to like ones this advanced is that they're made of machinery. They still have like a level of like free will and free mind of that like a human does. So that's one of the things I'm hoping Pino eventually learns too, because she wants to be human, but like she already has like I would already consider like she already has like a heart and a soul. She's like Pinocchio, which obviously that's part of the the idea of her, the base material, kind of like where she originates from, even the name Pinocchio. But like that's when they find out, or Nadia finds out that Andrew is dead. She rushes off, and it was sad that like she was rushing to him with such force and such like lack of hesitation that it ripped that power cable that was in her back. So she was just fully fine with, in her mind, if her last moments being functional was going to see this guy. Like, that was very sad. Like, it was such a brief, heart-wrenching moment. And I did really like Witch's stuff in this. I think Witch is like a really interesting character. Just because, like, out of them, she's like seems like the most mature, the most knowledgeable, and like just the most kind of she's got the most really to say, but it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna talk. Like anytime she really says something, it's something that is helpful to somebody. She's always doing what she can in order to assist others. I like that a lot. She has kind of that older sister position that Urza has, but whereas instead of like an authoritative figure, kind of like Urza was a lot of the time, Witch is more of kind of like this, just kind of caring, trying to look out for everybody. And it's not just for the main cast. It seems to be anybody that's like just ends up like within her realm of caring. Anybody that really kind of just is casted or set inside of the net she casts out of her kindness, and I like that a lot. But then because he brought the relic back, which I thought it'd be the chalice. Maybe that's the one that Poseidon left, because I figured like the chalice one would be like, because it's a goblet, it fills up with water, and his name is Poseidon, that maybe he'll have like some form of like power increase from it, and it gives him like some super advanced like water abilities. I think that'd be cool, because then he could be like drinking out of it like a king while he does his thing. But the relic ends up like fixing all of the androids within the village, and after that point the water recedes, and it's revealed that it's returning to its original shape. And I think that makes sense. Like, I was wondering, like, why would they have a village underwater other than like it being secretive? But I like that it's more of, if you take the relic away from this world, it will completely change its shape. So Mother's presence like affects the surrounding areas just in a much larger span, but it also can be detrimental to take them away. So it would make sense to go and try and retrieve them, which it means on top of that, maybe she originally left them there not just to find her, but she left them there to help people, which it would be really nice. Like, Mother seems like a very kind of, I think with the name Mother as well, like this big cosmic caregiver almost. But it was really nice to have this big panel, this big nice full page of Nadia just happy that in the dying efforts of Andrew, that he was able to help her fix their world and put it back to the way that they saw it together. And it was such a nice, touching moment. There was even a little ship moment between Shiki and Rebecca, which is nice. But I really like the outing of I really like that outing of the chapter when it was like Andrew and Nadia and like the whole thing of like maybe the chronophage can come over here and eat 200 years of this planet's time. And it's just like, it gives the idea that maybe in some cases, similar to Gills, that the chronophage could do good. And instead it's more of just kind of this neutral, chaotic creature that, its effects aren't, it's not doing things on purpose, but what it does doesn't always lead to things being bad. If it does come, if it does end up coming this way. So, I liked it. I thought it was a nice, touching chapter. I think that with where I would kind of gauge this as a kind of, like I said, intro to these relics and the adventure of gaining these relics to find Mother, I liked that it had a good amount of emotion behind it as well. I think that went really well with the chapter and really added a lot of weight to it. But anyway, other than that though, comment below. I really appreciate if you thumbs up the video, but press the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Further than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank y'all for listening.